How's it going, everybody? And today I want to talk about something more interesting. Instead of talking about religion, politics, science, history, and philosophy and shit like that all the time, it can be boring sometimes. So I want to talk about something for entertainment's sake. Something to entertainment. For example, writing. When people write fiction, right, they write a certain character. There are certain tropes, right? There's our heroes, villains, right? But there's also anti-heroes and anti-villains, right? But there are some times where the author, sometimes by pure accident, write a character in a certain way that under any realistic circumstances, right? And when I say realistic, I'm not talking about realistic in our world, realistic within the universe that takes place within the story, will not happen, or if the certain characters will behave very differently if they were consistent. For example, you see this a lot in anime, right? Where a character was written in a way that is either too powerful to the point that even by the author's own admission cannot be defeated. So I had to find some bullshit excuse to defeat it. One of the best examples is Naruto. How many fucking retcons does Naruto have? It's like there are more retcons than there are filler episodes, right? Which is kind of funny. But it's like he wrote the manga, basically accidentally the most powerful character in all of Naruto. And even by his own admission, the creator of Naruto, he was too powerful that it's like under any realistic circumstance, nobody in the main cast can actually defeat him. So I have to invent some bullshit Deus Ex type Makina shit going on to justify his defeat, when in reality in universe could not actually be defeated by any circumstances. These things happen to be like that. One of the best examples is when a villain has a good point, or where the villain actually is the good guy, or the villain has a noble cause. But here's the problem. In most time, especially when it comes to video games and anime in particular, it doesn't matter how good the bad guy actually is, how noble the bad guy actually, the goal of the bad guy has, or under any other circumstances, the main character will actually agree and join forces with the bad guy. But because he's the main villain, therefore he or she is wrong. That's it. It doesn't matter if they have a good point. It doesn't matter if they're actually right at the end. If they're the antagonist of the story, by default, they are wrong. One of the best examples of this scenario happening by accident or on purpose, depending how you see it, is from the manga and anime Chainsaw Man, where Makima. Okay, let's go on a big roundup about Makima. Makima, in the end of the day, within the context of the story and the lore and the world building around the Chainsaw Man universe, she is actually a good guy. Hear me out. First of all, we have to know her background. It is true that we know little about her backstory, but the little information we do know gives her context the way she is who she is. First of all, her ultimate goal. One, primarily, she just wants a family. That's it. She just wants a family. She wants parents, she wants a partner, she wants kids, she wants cousins, she wants brothers and sisters. She just wants a loving family. Why? I will go there later. And also, number two, her biggest goal is world peace. People often forget, because people who demonize Makima, right, for being evil and manipulated, you have to understand the little information we do know about her. First of all, she was raised as a weapon by the government. That's one. This is the Homelander situation of the boys, where Homelander could genuinely be a good guy, who genuinely could be an actual Superman-like character. But because he was raised as a weapon and being abused and neglected physically, mentally, and psychologically, you know, it damaged the person to become who he is. He is actually a victim. Now, the actions will not justify, you can say that, but you cannot defy the fact that he was raised as an object, not as a person, which will heavily affect their mental health. And this is the situation with Makima. Makima, because she was raised as a weapon by the government, who never had a family, who never was loved, she became who she is. That's why she is incapable of controlling her abilities. Because when she uses her control devil powers, she doesn't actually have the ability to control them. It's automatic, which goes back her being raised as a weapon. Because she was raised as a better, she's incapable of controlling her ability. So when people get brainwashed or manipulated by her, it's by instinct. She cannot actually control the ability, do it by itself, like it has its own autonomy. Right? Number two, because of that, este, despite all of that, despite being raised as a weapon, despite being abused mentally and psychologically for being a weapon, never have a proper family that she begs for one. Number three, because she's a yandere. That's another thing. She's a yandere to Pochita, the Chainsaw Devil. Why? Because he is one of the very few characters, if not the only character, who is resistant to her abilities. And that's why she fell in love with her. And this is where the whole Virgin Mary symbolism going on with her, which implies that she's a virgin as well, because she only has eyes for Pochita. But, like I said, because she was raised as a weapon, and Pochita is the only one resistant to her abilities of control, she fell in love with it. So it's basically the whole stereotype that I love you because I cannot control you. You know? It's a one-sided love, right? If she wasn't raised as a weapon, right, she may have more self-conscious about it and realize this is one-sided and will move on. Right? Like that's an interesting part. Like she wouldn't know that, but because again she was raised as a weapon by the government, and despite being raised as a government, her main goal was world peace. So she used her ability that she was trained, her manipulated tactics and everything to achieve her ultimate goal of world peace. You can criticize her method all you want, that's for sure, but you cannot disagree her goal. A world without disease, without hunger, without death, trying to bring peace to the world, where even by the government's own admission in the Chainsaw Man universe, that they are against world peace, that she is a threat. A woman who wants world peace is a threat to the government. Sounds like real life with capitalism, actually. But that's besides the point. This is an interesting case we're seeing. This is why Denji and the other character accidentally wear out their own acknowledgement, join the bad guy's side. To give you another example, people criticize her all they want about manipulating people and killing certain characters. Okay, if we're gonna use utilitarian grounds on this argument, right? She admitted she erased the very existence of Nazism, of fascism. She created a world, right, where World War II never happened, the Holocaust never happened, the 6 million Jews never died. She actually saved 30 million to 60 million people. In fact, to give you an example, the total death total of World War II, 3% of the world population died in World War II. And because she erased the very existence of the world itself, she saved 3% of the world's population. That's more good than any character, not only in Chainsaw Man, but in most fiction within the world of anime and manga. Think about that. She eliminated the very concept of fascism and Nazism from the world. She eliminated the concept of the Holocaust in World War II. She saved 3% of the world's population. So all the bad things she actually did within the story, the good things she did off screen completely outweighs it, because her main goal is world peace and wants to have a happy family. If there was a what if scenario that Makima was never raised as a government weapon, she may actually achieve her goal of having a family and, just being happy. She just wants to be happy. Right? Compared to other devils, she is by far the most human. Like she has hobbies, she has personal interests. She is socially awkward, actually. By their own admission. She's just a movie nerd. Like I swear, because the show Chainsaw Man takes place in the 90s, if YouTube was a thing back then, she would definitely have a YouTube channel reviewing movies or be the monitor of TV tropes or something like that. Like I swear, she is a cinephile. Yeah. And that's the strange part, because she is actually a good person, a good guy who wants a very noble cause, with the only actual critique is her method to achieve those causes. So it's like, this is the perfect example. Another example where a character or villain actually gets a redemption, despite the fact that realistically speaking should have a redemption. That under any no circumstance the character should not be redeemed, should not be forgiven by the actions that they did. Unlike Makima, who she is by all accounts actually a good guy in this scenario within the context of her backstory, the lore, and the world building of the story of the Wood Chainsaw Man. The opposite of this would be Katra from Shira, where literally she betrayed her friends, tried to kill them on multiple occasions. She doesn't trust barely anybody. She has trust issues pretty much, and she almost destroyed the universe and reality as we know it. Was she ever punished? No. Was she ever imprisoned? Only that one episode, but that was from a different context. You know, did she suffer the consequences of her actions? No. She didn't get any punishment. She got a redemption arc. Of all the character who almost committed the biggest genocide in the history of existence itself. And she doesn't get punished for it. Like, the fuck is wrong with you, Katra? Or She-Ra the show. I love the show She-Ra, but like, for fuck's sake, that is one example of a karma Houdini. Right? That it doesn't suffer the consequences of her actions. You know, it's like, for fuck's sake, you are lucky that you are considered a fan favorite within the She-Ra He-Man community. Because under any realistic circumstance within your universe, you will be put in the death penalty. Another example of we see these types of scenarios, right, is Thanos from the MCU. By far the most popular, well-known anti-villain within the mainstream media. His goal is to solve the resource problem, right? That there's not enough resource for everybody in the universe. Okay, that sounds like a legitimate problem. And he actually wants to help people so they don't have to suffer from food and hunger, right? If they're from hunger and starvation and thirst and shit like that. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a noble thing to do. However, this is where it gets fucked up. His solution is eugenics. Just massacre half of all life in the universe. And there are people who defends Thanos. Hell, even MapPat, the guy who does crazy theories, he does defend Thanos. He even does it. I will recommend a video in the description by Renegade Cunt, who goes into more detail critiquing the logic of Thanos, which is based on Malthusianism, which is a false understanding how population works, a concept that's been debunked pretty much just a century ago. Yet you still have people from the right trying to justify it. Like I said, Thanos, the best villain within the MCU, right, has the dumbest solution to a genuine problem. Remember, we talk about the Infinity Gauntlet, who, by pretty much his own admission, doesn't have pretty much any clear limits what you cannot do with these abilities. So he can fix this problem without resorting to genocide. Right, that's one problem. Again, going back with the boys, another example is Homelander. He is definitely a bad guy. There is no question without it. But he has been a victim of abuse mentally, psychologically as well. Because he, like I said earlier, could have been a genuine superhero. Could be a genuine good guy. He could be like an actual Superman type of character. But with I mentioned earlier with the Makima situation, he was raised as a weapon. So he was neglected mentally and psychologically. That affected his mental health to the point that he has become psychopathic and sociopathic. If he wasn't raised as a government agent, and again, The Boys is a critique of the superhero genre when it comes to consumerism and basically the capitalist exploitation of the superhero genre, where you need tragic characters, you need fucked up characters. Homelander is basically a logical endpoint. What happens when you care about more of the product than the people? This is what you gotta get. You gotta get people like Homelander. right? Homelander is not the only character who can suffer this trauma. Other comics like Irredeemable has something similar to that nature, although under very different contexts, as more of a horror direction going on with it, right? You had The Watchmen, which takes place in an alternate history Cold War, where the superheroes, in this case the second generation of superheroes, are just weapons for the government. You know, you also had Sidekicks, who is also a critique of the concept of young minor age people being sidekicks to doing dangerous activities, right? You also have Invincible, which is again going with the whole Superman trope, but combine the Superman backstory, right? But with the culture of the Saiyans from Dragon Ball, which actually makes it terrifying, you know. Again, we can go back and forth on certain characters where you think realistically and logically are either actually good guys, or the bad guy has a good goal but has a really dumb reason how to solve the problem, or characters who are just actual victims of the situation that if things would turn out differently would give radically opposite direction, right? Going back with the Chainsaw Man, Yoru, the War Devil. Despite the fact she is a literal war devil, what is her main goal? Not being forgotten. That's it. In fact, in some cases, she doesn't even like violence. She does it because it's basically her job. But she doesn't really want to. She just doesn't want to be forgotten. Basically speaking, if she had a one good friend or a family member or a partner, or whatever, who stays with her by her side, she will be happy. Again with the Makima situation, Yoru and Margaret, they just want to be happy. They just need a hug, right? That's another problem. Or another example in anime, for example, Kill la Kill. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of that anime. It's overly edgy. Sorry, and most of the characters just die brutally, and most of the characters are not that interesting. I like the designs, but don't care much who they are. One of the rare examples will be is Estef, who's basically the most powerful character in the show and was practically the villain of the show. Not really, is the emperor actually, but you get my point. She's also another example of a character who, because of her upbringing, she is who she is, and without that, she could actually be a good guy. For example, despite the fact that you some of you will make point like, but didn't she say herself at the end of the manga slash anime that she is irredeemable? She said that, but she contradicts herself throughout the story. For example, one, when she was raised by her father basically is a racist, where he is a social Darwinist, survival of the fittest, the weak is been taken over by the strong, which in real life that's not how nature works. Nature works on mutual aid and cooperation. We see that in nature. It's like, read any biology book about behavior of animals, right? It goes against the social Darwinist thesis. But moving on. Now she was raised as a social Darwinist as a young girl, right? Because of that, she was raised in a certain the racist bigoted ideology, right, where the weak it should be eliminated, the strong survive. Despite the fact throughout the show, in the manga and anime, she contradicts and goes against the value her father expressed. Every time she's part of a crew or a crew joins her team, she does the complete opposite. She protects the weak. She actually defends them. She is loving and caring. She does the complete opposite what her father teach her. Another thing, she also throughout the manga, I think, or was it the anime only? I can't remember. That she drank demon blood. It's been acknowledged that drinking demon blood changed the character's personality, which explains the bloodlust in her battlefield. It's not technically her; it's actually the demon blood's influence. Another example: she is a victim as a war orphan, where her village was destroyed and she became an orphan because again, and she was raised as a child soldier. So the combination of raising from a bigoted ideology, being raised as a child soldier, so imagine all the physical, mental, and psychological abuse she has been through, and also drink demon blood that if they change the personality in question, of course she's going to end up how she is. And despite all that, she still maintains her humanity and goes against her father's values when he treats her to her close companions. And when she fell in love with the main character, she goes against everything she has been brought up to and going to the opposite direction. So basically speaking, if the main character managed to if she managed to be with the main character and somehow goes against the empire, which actually could be possible in a what if situation, because by her omission she does what she does because it's her job. That didn't mean that she liked what she did or she's agreed with the rules and establishment they have. She does it because it's her job. Basically, the whole Nazi argument, I was just following orders. Basically, that scenario is going on, which makes sense because her attire is Nazi inspired. And so there's that symbolism going on with it. Again, there are multiple characters throughout fiction where, when you really think about it, they're either actually good guys, where the villain is actually a good guy who has a point, or the villain who has a noble cause but has a really shitty way to fix the issue, or the characters are victims of their own upbringing, something you cannot really blame them how they end up when it comes to their mental health. It's very interesting to see how fiction goes out that route. And like I said, it's kind of dumb in some cases where like certain characters, when you really think about it, they're actually right, but because they're not the main character, therefore they're wrong, or we ignore their proposal because they're not the main character. Or in some cases, the main character goes against his own goal for no reason whatsoever. For example, Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone, basically a scientist, like Einstein plus Stephen Hawking plus any physicist ever actually. But it's like, it's like, oh, we did all these things and blah blah blah. And the end, somewhere halfway through the end of the manga, he discovers basically if we keep using the petrification and use as a healing source, right? We discover immortality, right? And he goes on in couple of pages how that's a good thing, infinite possibilities, infinite knowledge. We can always explore and learn new things, a never-ending thirst. He treats it like it's one of the greatest discoveries ever made. But when they reach to the vital villain, right? When the vital villain actually offers them immortality, the thing that and offer him the goal that he's actually promoting before this event occurs, what he does? He goes 180, rejects it, and it's like, it's not fun. But didn't you say like a couple of chapters back that it will be the best thing ever? And now when you actually get the goal, just because the villain gives you the goal, now you gotta say it's not fun. It's like, for fuck's sake, Brad. It's like, be consistent, man. Yeah. It's like I said, it's one of those moments that just doesn't make any sense. Hell, in some cases, the writing department can be so bad at times that even certain fan fiction do a better job of telling the story while maintaining the rules and laws within the universe. The best example is Harry Potter. In the fan fiction Harry Potter and the Mantis of Rationality, written by Alessia Yugosky, is one of the best examples of this, where he maintains the laws and the rules the universe takes place, but he written a certain way that not only is consistent within the world of the Harry Potter universe, but the characters are actually smart, right? To the point where many of the problems they solve it. In fact, in this fan fiction, Harry Potter did something that Voldemort was trying to achieve. But they don't portray it as a bad thing. Because like I said, because the logic, if the bad guy has a goal, doesn't matter he's actually right, therefore he's wrong. They actually achieve immortality. It's basically universal immortality, in fact, where everybody can be immortal now. Yeah, that's what Voldemort wanted, although you can argue Voldemort only wanted for himself, that's for sure. But the ideas are similar, enough that they want the same end goal, only on different scales. Now, let's ignore the fact that Harry Potter universe, the actual canon, is racist, bigoted, homophobic slave society. It's based on feudalism, aristocracy. It's a wizard supremacy. Like, think about it. The goblins who are usually the bad guys in most of the Harry Potter story, especially the new game Hogwarts Legacy. When you think of them, they're actually victims that were being abused as a slave race. And if you look at the story of the Harry Potter universe, the trolls and the goblins are actually pretty radical. Like anarchist, syndicalist, union, wildcat activists promoting for equal rights and shit like that. But Harry Potter, the main character, wants to maintain the status quo. And what is the status quo? Maintain the slave race, maintain the wizard supremacy, keep isolationism, keep the aristocracy, keep the weird racism with the purebloods, keep the real transphobia and gay phobia of the werewolves, etc., etc. Harry Potter, when he realizes it or not, he is defending a form of fascism within his own society. And while the bad guys, who are actually the good guys when you really think about it, are these radical anarchists. That is the biggest bullshit. Again, I gotta put links in the description of the video about Harry Potter. Like I said, is insane how much story fiction, when you really think about it, is very fucked up. In fact, one of the best examples of a story that, even though it was meant for kids, right? But in reality, when you really sit down and pay attention to the story, or the lore, or the world building, or the background knowledge that's been presented to the audience, it's actually pretty fucked up. One of the best examples is Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is, for me, without doubt, the darkest piece of material that Disney has ever produced. Because when you really find out, sit down, watch every single episode, pay attention to the world building and everything, when you really talk about it, it's actually a political thriller. The family of Star has committed genocide, racism, a caste society, racial segregation, multiple massacre against monsters. And they admitted they were hiding these secrets to Star, committing these horrible crimes against humanity. And not only that, it's been revealed, if you pay attention, the royal family is not even legitimate. There's a good case they're not actually legitimate, so we don't know who is the actual royal family who's supposed to be in charge. And there is a secret background, like higher rulers controlling the strings behind the scenes. So we don't know who's actually in charge. We only get hints, something's weird going on behind the stage, but we don't know who these mysterious puppet masters are. Or Star, who trying to redeem the family, saying we're not horrible monsters who commit massacres and being tyrants. But instead, she eliminates magic, which the majority of the species in her world are made of pure magic, so she had committed the biggest genocide in the history of that universe. Which is saying something. Although there is some contradiction, like for example, how the hell does the flying head horse still alive despite the fact they're made of pure magic, even though magic's been destroyed? So how the hell they're still alive and sentient? But that's besides the point. I can go on and on and on multiple examples of movies, books, video games, animation, etc. about multiple cases when you really think about it, it's really fucked up, despite the fact it's a kids show or it's meant for kids, or where the good guys are actually the bad guys and the bad guys are actually the good guys, etc. But I'm not gonna spend like literal 8 hours talking about that, and I had to go to work real soon. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy me just rambling shit, because I had nothing better to do for making new content at the moment. So like, subscribe, share, and hope see you guys next time.